Both the function point count method and the apportion method, they all depend on the original estimation, in the sense that the experience that we talked about, whether that is correct or not, it depends on that. In functional method, it depends on the ratings that you're giving as well as the factors that you're giving. It can depend on that as well. A range estimating a template is this way. So you have a project number, you have a description of the project manager, the date. Then this is the project, which is organic wine launch project. And this is the WBS, and these are the WBS ID. And this is a description for each one of the WBS elements. And we are going to have a low estimate, an average estimate, and a high estimate. And then we are going to estimate that for each one of those work packages. And we are going to take a range. The range is basically the highest number minus the lowest number. So 3 minus 1 is 2, 12 minus 4 is 8, so on and so forth. The risk level is based on the range as well as the description of the product. And that is going to be determined as low, medium, or high. Okay. And that gives you a rough range estimating template. Phase estimating is a hybrid way of doing it. So you have, for instance, you have a detailed estimate for the specifications. You have the detailed estimates for the design, the detailed estimates for produce, and production, detailed estimate for delivering the project. So the macro estimate is taken for the entire range of need to deliver. And then phase by phase, you're going to have detailed estimates. Okay? And a set of macro estimates. So you're going to detail it for one particular section and use the rest for the macro estimate, so on and so forth. So that's how the hybrid or the phase estimating is done. Here the estimation is done in phases. So phases 1 to 5, you're going to be estimating based on the phases and when they are going to be doing that job. Top-down and bottom-up estimates, if you want to compare them, the intended use of top-down estimates is conceptual phase, rough cost estimation, requirements for fund or budgeting, resource capacity planning. Those are when you probably use the top-down estimates. Bottom-up estimates are used for actual budgeting itself, for scheduling, for resource requirements, and also for timing of funds. The preparation cost wise, it is 1/10 to 3/10% of the total project cost. Whereas this is a bit higher because it is more detailed. The accuracy is better, more accurate, because it is more detailed. The accuracy for bottom-up estimate is minus 10% to plus 30%, while it is minus 20% to plus 60% for the top-down estimate. The methods that we use, or we have talked about it before, like the consensus or the ratio or the apportion methods compared to the template, parametric, WBS, package and range estimates, and so on and so forth. The detail of level in the WBS varies with the complexity of the project, the need for control, the project size, cost, and duration, and any other factor. The details emphasizes the department outcomes rather than deliverable outcomes. creates more unproductive paperwork. Inadequate detail falls short of meeting the structure's needs. So these are the excessive and inadequate details that you can come up with. Types of costs wise, you're talking about direct costs which are chargeable to the specific work package, which is chargeable to the project directly, and labor, materials, equipment, and others are examples of that. Labor means number of people who are working and their cost of work. Materials wise, what materials you're going to be using for the project. Indirect costs basically are costs that are done indirectly for the project. For instance, the paper that you use, the pens that you use, the washcloths that you use, these are all indirect costs. Overhead costs are tied to the project deliverables, salary of the project manager, rental space if it is temporary, supplies, specialized machinery if you need something for a few days. Those are all overhead costs. G&A costs, or the general administrative costs, are not directly linked to a particular project. For instance, advertising, accounting, salary of senior management above the project level, so on and so forth. And usually you come up with all these costs, you add them up, you put a overhead, G&A overhead, general administrative overhead of 20%, or whatever the contingency factor is, could be anything from 0 to 20%. The total cost is $120,000 now. Now you take a profit of 20%, and that is $24,000. That comes to a total bid of $144,000. This is a total cost that you want to show to your stakeholders. The three views of costs are basically, you have the scheduled budget. The scheduled budget against what is being committed for the project and what is the actual cost of the project. So, of course, this all falls nicely here, but the actual cost might be going this way also. It depends on the project. The actual cost can vary over a period of time as well. If you want to adjust the estimate, it is called refining estimates. If you want to adjust estimates, you should do it for the reasons shown below. One is, if the interaction costs are hidden in estimates, if the normal conditions do not apply, if there are not normal periods of time, if things go wrong on projects, if the project scope changes or if the project plans change, if the project manager or anybody else is higher up in the ranks, like management, or overly optimistic, and if people engage in strategic misrepresentation, or if the strategy is misrepresented, then you need to adjust the estimates as well. Now, companies do create a database for estimation. The estimates are put in a database with the processes in place, the MIS, the information systems that is needed, the hardware that is being worked on, the product production, programming part of the project, and the risk analysis. All these things are put into the database, and also the documentation which comes along with are also put into the database so that it can be retrieved later on. For big projects, these are large-scale complex ventures costing $1 billion or more, many years to complete, multiple stakeholders. For instance, high-speed rail lines, like in Europe, you have the TGV in France. If you want to build airports, if you want to build healthcare facilities, a new aircraft development, Olympics, sport events. These are big, large scale projects. These mega projects cost a lot of money and it takes a lot of time. Projects cost much more than expected for sure because you cannot estimate them accurately. And usually they overrun on the time as well because you cannot estimate the time it takes to build these kind of mega projects. So usually costs go up and the time also goes up in many of these projects. These projects are referred to as white elephants. Projects are over budget, undervalued, and the cost of maintaining exceed the benefits that are received. If you look at the Olympic stadiums around the world, many of them, what do you do after the Olympics is done? Some of the structures you can use, but other structures you just can't use it. This is it. So that is sunk cost in most cases, right? And that's what happens to many of the Olympic stadiums.